Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Monday. It is a start of another week. It's a start of a Champions League week, of course. I hope you're doing well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world today. Thank you very much, as always, for joining me. Like I said, in the start of another big week for Arsenal. We've had a great weekend, fantastic weekend actually, which we'll get to. That was a fun Sunday yesterday. But now we're bang into another big week. We've got Champions League. We've got Atletico Madrid tomorrow night at the Emirates, probably. Well, certainly one of Arsenal's toughest fixtures in this league phase section of the competition. Then we've got a big game against Crystal Palace, a very dangerous, good Crystal Palace team coming this weekend as Arsenal look to cement their position at the top of the Premier League. So we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to focus on Atletico Madrid today. We're going to talk about changes that Mikel probably could make or even should make potentially, because it feels like there is going to have to be some rotation given the sheer amount of fixtures and trying to keep everyone fresh. So we're going to talk about that in today's show. Got other bits and pieces. We're going to round up some comments and questions from you guys as well that we're going to get stuck into. First of all, a couple of little bits and pieces. My neighbours right opposite are having their windows changed and removed right now. And there's people, I'm looking out the window and I can see ladders and people going up there. There's drills and everything going off. So if you do hear anything then in the background, then that is what the noise is that is going on. But firstly, I just wanted to draw your attention to this event that is coming this Friday. Now, if you're in and around London and you're free on Friday night, then and you're an Arsenal fan, then I urge you to get down to this event that is being raised, that's been held for the Kevin Campbell Foundation. It's a night for Arsenal fans. There's going to be Arsenal legends there. It's an interactive discussion and quiz with the likes of Nigel Winterburn, Martin Keown, Paul Davis, Perry Groves. And it's all been held to raise money for the Kevin Campbell Foundation. Kevin, of course, so tragically lost his life not so long ago at such a young age. You know, one of my heroes growing up, who I used to watch in the stands at Highbury all the time and had the absolute pleasure of getting to know a bit in my later life as well. And it's just so tragically horrible what happened to Kevin, and the foundation has been set up to sort of honor him, to honor his life, honor his legacy, and to help others going forward. And this night is being held to raise money for the Kevin Campbell Foundation. So if you are around London on Friday night and you want to get yourselves down and have a great night with other Arsenal fans and Arsenal legends, then do get down to this event. It's at the Irish Centre in Camden Square on London. Doors open at around 7 o'clock. So yeah, please do get down there. You can find the link to buy some tickets down below in my video description or the podcast description. It is kevincampbellfoundation.com/what's-on, kevincampbellfoundation.com/what's-on. And yeah, if you want to go down into the description, you can find that link. It's all the money raised for a fantastic cause. It's £27. You get a welcome drink included in that. And yeah, I do urge, if you can make it on Friday, then this will be a great night. And I urge that you get yourself down there for it. Right, we're going to talk about the game on tomorrow night now. It's coming around so quickly, isn't it? And I don't normally start with questions, but I'm going to start with a question because this is from Gunnar Greg, and this is basically what I want to talk about today. It says, given how knackered some of the team looked against Fulham, what kind of rotation do you expect against a very tough Atletico Madrid side on Tuesday? And I think that's a question that a lot of people are asking right now. What is Mikel going to do for this game? Now, the Fulham one obviously came on the back of the international break, a demanding international break for a lot of players. You look at, there was lots of travel involved for some of them, and they come straight back into a really physical battle at Fulham that went right to the wire. Mikel only really made 2 substitutions in that game. I know he did bring on a third sub right at the end, but he only really made 2 proper substitutions in that game. So a lot of players played the full 90 minutes. You got Atletico on Tuesday night, and then you got a big game against Crystal Palace to come at the weekend. So you would expect there's going to be some rotation this week, and especially for the Atletico game in the middle. And I don't think it would even a case of expecting some rotation. I think there has to be some rotation. There's not going to be loads. Anyone who's expecting Mikel to make huge amounts of changes, that's just not going to happen. This is Mikel Arteta we're talking about, and this is a Champions League as well, and this is a really important game. Like I said at the start, probably, along with Inter Milan away, Arsenal's toughest fixture. I've actually, sorry, got Bayern Munich coming up as well. So there are some, there is that one to take into account. But it's one of the toughest fixtures of this league phase. And Arsenal have had a great start to the competition. If they could get the win on Tuesday night, that's going to put them in a very, very good position. So he's not going to make wholesale changes. He never does. But he will have to make some, I think. And you look at what those changes could be. I think Gabriel Martinelli, I will be very surprised if Gabriel Martinelli doesn't start this game. See, Leo started against Fulham, scored the winning goal, but I think Martinelli comes in for Leandro Trossard. I think that is the right decision. I fully expect Bukayo Saka to start on the right. I don't think Mikel's going to change things there. I think Victor Gyokeres will start up front as well. But then what else do you do? Zubimendi, I think there was lots of question marks about Zubimendi going into the Fulham game. Would he get a rest for that one? He didn't. He played the full 90 minutes on the back of the international break where he has some demanding games for Spain. I think he's someone who might be rested for this one. I think the one thing that making me think maybe he won't do it, Mikel, is that it's against Madrid. It's a team that Zubimendi knows very, very well, how they play, how they operate, how they set up. Mikel might look at that and think, you know what, I'll keep him in. But I do look at that midfield area and think he's probably going to have to make at least one change, I would say, to keep things fresh. I think Mikel Merino will be a very attractive proposition for Mikel Arteta for this game. If you do rest Zubimendi, I think you could move Declan Rice into that number 6 role, and then you put Merino further ahead next to either Eza, or you bring in Ethan Waneri for that game. I think at fullback as well, we might well see some changes. Ben White, I think, for Jurriën Timber at right back. I'll be surprised if Ben White's fit, I think he starts this game. I'll be surprised if he doesn't. And then you look at that left back situation, whether it be Miles Lewis-Skelly. I know Pierre Hincapié wasn't involved against Fulham. I presume that was just because it was just a little bit too early for him. You would imagine then that this would be a little bit too early for him as well. So if it is going to be a change, it will probably be Miles Lewis-Skelly at left back and Ricardo Calafiori having a bit of a rest. I think he'll keep the centre backs together. I'd be surprised if he doesn't for a game of this magnitude against such a strong team. I think he'll want to keep that central defensive pairing together. But I do look at those fullbacks and think that would be a position that he will look to change. So let me know your thoughts on this. What do you think Mikel should do for this Atletico game? It is a tough game. He's not going to make massive amounts of changes. I mean, there is the option potentially of playing Mikel Merino up front and giving Victor Gyokeres a rest, because Victor Gyokeres certainly looks like he could do with a bit of a rest. He's played a huge amount of football since the start of the season. And you do have the option of playing Merino up there. I think personally, I'd still play Gyokeres in this game. And if I was going to bring Merino in, it'd be in the midfield position. But let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. What would you do? What do you think Mikel Arteta should do? How important is this game? Atletico, is this the game that you make changes, or do you maybe go full strength against Atletico and then make some changes against Crystal Palace at the weekend? Let me know your thoughts on it all in the comments below. Tomorrow morning, obviously, I'll do the big preview show. I'll give my predicted 11. We're going to hear from Mikel Arteta a little bit later on today. We've got open training coming up in a few hours' time at London Colney. We've then got the press conference as well after that. So we're going to hear what Mikel Arteta's got to say. I'm sure he'll be speaking about the possibility of rotating players. We'll get a little bit of a look at the open training session as well, whether anyone's injured, anyone's out, anyone's missing, anyone's come back. Potentially, will Hincapié be involved in that open training session? Fingers crossed he will. So we'll get a bit of an indication a little bit later on today, maybe, of who is available and what options Mikel does have. But let me know your thoughts on it all, and I'll get some of them together as always and get them included in tomorrow's preview show. Right, as I touched on at the start of the show, it was a good Sunday, wasn't it? It was fun. I tell you what, I wasn't even around yesterday. I had family stuff going on, so I didn't even watch any of the football. I listened to the second half of the United Liverpool game in the car while I was driving my mother-in-law home. And I just followed by phone as the day was going on. It started off, I saw Tottenham going front. I was like, here we go. And then suddenly Aston Villa came back and they won at Spurs. So that's a good start. But surely Liverpool aren't going to get beaten at home to Manchester United. That is never going to happen in a million years. Oh, it did. What a wonderful Sunday. They don't get much better than that as an Arsenal fan, do they? Having won on Saturday, having got 3 lovely points tucked away, to then put your feet up, watch, listen, follow on your phone, whatever way you did it, to first see Spurs lose at home to Aston Villa and then see Liverpool lose at home to Manchester United. 4 defeats in a row in all competitions for Liverpool. Think back not long ago to that game against Newcastle, when if Arsenal lost, they could have ended up 8 points behind Liverpool that weekend, and now they're 4 points ahead of them. It's been a remarkable swing so quickly, and that was a crazy result. I mean, United rode their luck. I watched the highlights. They rode their luck. Liverpool with some big chances. How Gakpo didn't equalise at the end, I'll never know. But that's a massive win for them, and it's another big defeat for Liverpool. Yeah, great weekend. Can't really ask for much more than that. Now, it's a long way to go. Of course, it's the fact that, as I just said, it's only a few weeks back that Liverpool could have been 8 points clear in the Premier League, and now all of a sudden Arsenal are 4 points ahead of Liverpool. Shows how quickly things can change, and we've got a huge amount of football still to go, of course, but it's a nice position to be in for Arsenal. Just got to keep their foot down on the pedal now. That's the most important thing. While other teams are dropping points, just keep your foot on the pedal. Really try and put the gas on and cause some problems, put the pressure on. And that's what they're doing at the moment. 5 wins in all competition in a row for Arsenal. Just keep doing what you're doing. That's what they've got to do. But yeah, fantastic Sunday yesterday. Really enjoyed following all of that. Right, let's move on to some of your comments and questions now, shall we? We've got one here from Hagar on the Discord. It says, Eze is a great player, but do you think he is the right fit for the Odegaard position? Ethan feels like the better fit, perhaps with Marino instead, perhaps for higher pressure games. It's an interesting one. I think the fact is that he's never really played that position, has he? For Crystal Palace, he was always on the left. And I know there's lots of debate when he came to Arsenal. It was like, oh, why has he been stuck out on the left? The fact was, for Crystal Palace, more often than not, he played that. He was on the left-hand side of the attack. That's where he started games. He was given freedom to come inside, and he did that very well. But he was ultimately playing or starting or listing in the fixtures or in the lineup when you looked at it. He would be over on the left-hand side. So he is getting used to that position. The Odegaard position is such a crucial one for Arsenal as well, what Odegaard does. And when he's not in the team, you really see what he does, what the team's missing. And Eze is a very different player to Martin Odegaard, no doubt about it. Even when Odegaard plays badly, and I've said this before and had this argument with people before, even when Odegaard's not at his best, like many times last season, he's always in the game. He might not be doing everything that you want him to do, but he never disappears from the game. He's always a guy dropping back, getting the ball. He's always on the ball. He's doing something, whether it be, you get frustrated because he's moving it across sideways rather than going forward. You can never ignore Martin Odegaard. He's always front and centre of a match. I think Eze's very different to that. He's more of your sort of creative playmaker type guy, or just the maverick type guy who can be out of the game for a while and then pop up and do something special. And he's going to have to get used to playing in that Odegaard role if he's going to do that long term, which is, let's face it, he's not, because when Martin Odegaard comes back, he's going to come back into the side. I think as well for Eze, he's just having to adjust to actually being an Arsenal player now. So instead of being a Crystal Palace player when you're playing away from home at a team, that team are going to think, we're playing Crystal Palace, we're going to attack them today. And that allows Eze to have space, because when they break forward, they've got space. When he's playing in an Arsenal kit, he's not going to have much space because he's playing against a team who have got 11 men behind the ball. And he's having to adjust to that. He's not really ever had to do that before in his career. So it's a work in progress for him. So I wouldn't be sitting here right now and thinking he's not a good fit for that position. I just think it's something he's just going to have to get used to. And for now, I'd still be rather having Eze on the pitch, I think, than Ethan, as much as I love Ethan. But it's an interesting one. This week, will we see Ethan get a start this week? Potentially so. I'd be surprised, but potentially so. Would I have an issue if Ethan started the game? Absolutely not. I'd be excited to see it. But yeah, I think it's just a little bit too early now to say. We just don't really have the sample size, or a big enough sample size, to say one way or other who is the better fit in that position. Ethan's probably got a little bit more experience playing in that position, which sounds crazy because he's been around Arsenal a lot longer and knows that position a little bit better than Eze. But there was he wasn't great against Fulham, but I'm not concerned about Eberechi Eze. I think he's going to be a fantastic player for Arsenal. Oh yeah, we got here one from Bren, who I met at the cottage on Saturday before the game. Bren was working at Craven Cottage, Arsenal fan, working behind the scenes at Fulham undercover in the IT department, I think it was, he said. And he came up and said hello before the game. So it's good to meet you there, Bren. Glad you enjoyed it. I hope you got a shirt signed that you were hiding in your inside pocket, your Arsenal shirt signed that you were hiding in your inside pocket. And good to see you said there you had a chat with Ethan and Miles before the game, or after the game, sorry. You said, anyway, on to my question. We've got a pretty heavy run of fixtures coming up through October and November, and I imagine the younger lads will get a bit more game time. But do you think they might start getting frustrated with a lack of Premier League and Champions League minutes? And if so, could that lead to a few of them getting itchy feet and looking elsewhere in January for a loan? I know they're hell-bent on staying and developing at the club, but there's so much progress, only so much progress they can make from the bench. I don't think so. I think if Arsenal are pushing on and looking like they've got a very good chance of winning the Premier League title, I cannot see any way that Ethan and Miles are going to push to go on loan in January. It wouldn't shock me at all if there's some inquiries from clubs saying, you know what, we can take them for 6 months. We'll give them plenty of game time. But I imagine if you're Ethan and you're Miles and you're going into January and Arsenal and you're still playing a part, which they are, and I'm sure they will play a bigger part than we've seen so far this season. In this run we've got coming up to Christmas, we're going to see them play a bigger part than they have done already. You know, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Miles Biscali starts tomorrow night against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. I think if you're them and you're looking at this thinking, you know what, we can win the league here, you know, I don't see any way that they're going to say, you know what, I'm going to walk away from that right now and not be involved in it. So I'd be surprised. And I do think as well, we're going to see, as I said, more minutes for these players as we now head towards the Christmas period. So I would hope that any concerns they might have lingering in the background would be extinguished in these next run of fixtures that we've got coming up. But yeah, it was great to meet you at the weekend, mate. Thank you a lot for coming up and saying hello. Appreciated that. We've got one from Gerard now. Says, hello, Charles. Thanks as always for the great content. Did you or anyone else reading this feel shades of Lacazette in Gyokeres' performance at Fulham? Yes, I absolutely see he worked hard. And yes, I know he gives our other players space, but surely his primary role is to be a potent goal threat. All the talk about off-the-ball work seems all too familiar. The same narrative analysis was uttered when we were trying to defend Lacazette in his final years with us. Slightly reminiscing, but I can't help thinking what a striker in the mould of Eduardo would do for this team. Yeah, what a striker Eduardo was. I don't see shades of Lacazette, certainly not latter stages Lacazette anyway, in what I saw from Gyokeres, I have to say, because Lacazette was never even looking like getting near the goal in that sort of latter stages of Lacazette when we were all talking about his work rate and everything like that. He never looked like a goal threat at all. Gyokeres worked himself 3 really good attempts at goal against Fulham. Two of them certainly by his own hard work. You know, the one when he put over with his left foot in the second half, that was from him doing it all himself, pinning the defender, turning him and getting his shot away. The one in the second half as well, when I think it was Saka, or it might have been Eze that slipped him in. I think it was Saka, and he turned the defender again and had the shot that Leno saved, and then Martinelli had the follow-up. You know, that was all his own work again, really, again, showing his strength to get past the defender and getting his shot away. The one in the first half was a really good run onto Saka's pass and forced Leno into a save. So I just, when you're talking about Lacazette, certainly when Lacazette got towards the end of his career at Arsenal, and it was just always talk about work rate and off the ball work and all that sort of stuff, he wasn't a threat at all. He was barely seeing any chances of goal. He wasn't getting in the penalty area. I don't see that with Victor Gyokeres, I have to say, and I certainly didn't see it against Fulham. I think he fashioned himself some decent opportunities against Fulham. Didn't take them, which is unfortunate. It'd be great if he did. But yeah, I don't really see shades of Lacazette in that, I have to say. Gerard, we've got one from Heidi here who's talking about Gabriel Heinze. He says, hi, Charles, spare a thought for what could be an amazing job Heinze is doing. He's fitted in seamlessly and added extra grit to that touchline. I mean, he seems to be doing very, very well. And when you talk about people, they're very happy with the addition of Gabriel Heinze. It was interesting. I was watching in the warm-up on Saturday at Craven Cottage when the forwards all went away after they all did the rondos and everything like that. All the forwards went away and started doing their sort of attacking warm-up stuff, drills. And then Heinze got all of the defenders, so the back four, the defensive substitutes, got them all together and got them into a big huddle. Like you see before kickoff normally when the team gets into huddle. He did one of those with all the defenders. He was right in the middle of it, Heinze. He was giving a real passion speech to all of the defensive work, all of the defensive players in that huddle, which I just thought was interesting. I've not really seen that before in a warm-up. And you can just see the passion. You can feel the fieriness of him. The players seem to really, really like him. I know there were some question marks about Heinze and his character and his personality and his the way he worked when he's been in charge of previous clubs and stuff like that. And those were quite rightly flagged when he was coming to Arsenal. But from what I've seen from him, from what the players who have worked with him have said about him, it feels like he's been a good addition, a welcome addition, and he's clearly playing a big part defensively. And when you look at what Arsenal have done defensively this season, setting all new records, you know, it's the best start defensively to any season in the whole history of the club. And it comes on the back of Heinze being appointed in the summer and working with defenders. He's got to take an enormous amount of credit for that. So yeah, I think he's doing a great job. I think he looks like he's doing a great job. From what I hear, he's doing a great job. He's popular. The players like him. And results speak for themselves at the moment. Defensively, there's no one better than Arsenal. So that's it from me today. Again, get down into the comments below. If you want to go to the Kevin Campbell event this week on Friday, then please do get down into the comments. You'll find the link to the website where you can get your tickets. I'll just give you that address again. It is kevincampbellfoundation.com/what's on, and just go to the special event. It's called A Night with Arsenal Legends. Support the Kevin Campbell fundraiser. Unforgettable evening of football, stories, and community as the Kevin Campbell Foundation in proud partnership with Arsenal America and the Arsenal Independent Supporters Association. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great start to your week. I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Bye-bye.